Good day and greetings. This is Dr. Charles Cotter. I'd like to welcome you to the seventh and final episode of the HR Strategic Performance Advisor video series. You'll recall from previous episodes that the objective of this particular video series is to provide HR professionals with a toolkit to upgrade from a level 2 of strategic maturity transactional to level 4, that is a strategic performance advisor. Therefore, the focus of episode 7 is then on HR auditing as one of the powerful governance levers. And in particular, I'd like to start off the video clip by looking at the purpose of HR auditing. I'm going to introduce you to my VCR acronym, but then also looking at the 8 critical success factors, looking at the 3-phased HR auditing process, and then concluding by looking at some of the benefits, what I call the 5 C's. The 5 primary benefits to enable you to achieve an unqualified clean HR audit. So if I could start the session off, the 7th and final episode, with the purpose of HRM auditing. And like I mentioned, I did talk about the VCR. So the acronym that I'm referring to is, these are the 3 primary purposes: the value, the compliance, but also the risk. And I think you've gathered by now from the series that I do love the 70-20-10% principle. And I would then suggest that 70% of the purpose statement for HR auditing should be related to compliance. 20% in that is the secondary purpose of HR auditing, should be dedicated as an alternative HR risk management tool, reactive risk management tool, unlike with your HR risk management and your risk register, which would be anticipatory, proactive, but also preventative. And then I would suggest that 10%, in particular the strategic value, that would then be the tertiary purpose of HRM auditing.
So I'm just going to run through them quickly, and you can just maybe just take out your notepad and pen, and you can just, on a 5-point scale, you could just evaluate the degree of compliance or the state of readiness. Do we tick off all of these boxes? Because this will just accelerate and streamline the HR auditing process. Number 1, the organizational readiness. Now, if HR audits have never been done previously in your organization, do you believe that there's a heightened state of readiness? Will the organization, in particular your hard-nosed business managers, your line managers, some other key stakeholders, will they readily embrace this journey, this HR auditing process? So again, rate yourself on a 5-point scale in terms of that. A recurring theme, Milani, is resources. So to equip and enable and empower us to perform this HR audit, we need to have adequate resources, not just financial resources. We know that you need human resources, you need technology. If you need to travel, you need vehicles, because you cannot necessarily conduct an evidence-based HR audit remotely. You need to see tangible evidence of compliance. So resources are very important, critical success factor. The right people, we've also been saying this consistently. So you need to have a lead HR auditor. I would suggest that would be one of your senior HR business partners, but you need to have an HR audit team. Again, Megan, depending on the scope of the audit, this is maybe not number 1, a desktop exercise that can be completed by one individual behind a closed door, and it might require a team of maybe 3 or 4. And you would then know where those HR auditors reside. Would it be somebody who's a generalist in shared services, or would it be one of your specialists in your centers of excellence? Number 4, we know Wellington in particular, if you're working in a unionized environment, we might need the support of the trade unions and other key role players in your strategic business unit. I think it's very important. We spoke about the ownership, the buy-in, in particular from the labor union representatives. From a governance perspective, Leah, you spoke about the importance of your HR audit being guided by a policy. So your policy will give you not only the rules of engagement, but it'll also give you the authority, it'll give you the autonomy, it'll give you the objectivity, the independence. It'll create a formal HR auditing structure. Your governance structures, in particular, like you said, your HR risk committees, your HR audit committees, all of that must be entrenched, must be cemented in your policy, and logically from your policy must flow your standard operating procedure, so you have a clear process map in terms of how to conduct that audit. Just remember, we spoke about the reliability of the process. So if I have to verify as a consultant, if I come in and I have to replicate your process, is it going to be reliable in terms of similarity of the HR audit findings? It should be, number 6, the HR audit should be conducted under the supervision of a subject matter expert. So this is what we're saying. We might have to train our auditors either through external verification. I've run a lot of HR auditing training programs. It could be as brief as 3 days, but ideally, Leah, we want 5 days. And then on the 5th day, we build a portfolio of evidence. So I think somebody that's not only trained and competent, but somebody that's experienced either internally or you can outsource it to an external consultant. But I would have to have that comfort, that assurance that it is a subject matter expert, a qualified, competent, well-trained and experienced HR auditor who is then heading up the HR audit team. I spoke about the synchronization of your calendar, but also making sure that there's alignment, not just vertically, but also horizontally across your HR value chain. And then I think, Melanie, you've reminded us of this consistently. Number 8, we need senior management commitment and support. We need the general cooperation, not only of the unions, but also other key stakeholders. But it does start right from the top. Everything flows from that, the commitment, the resources, the governance, the policy, the procedure, all of that comes from the board level. So I think we'll agree that those are the critical success factors. So of the 8, maybe we could just do a quick sharing. How many of those 8 do we currently comply with? What is the state of maturity and readiness to conduct an HR audit? Do we comply with all 8 of these critical success factors? If not, where are the gaps? I've done a lot of research in this and I looked at different schools of thought. I'm just running through this very quickly just to give an idea of some of the process cycles, process maps. And I think you've gathered what I do is I look at what all the experts are saying, and then I consolidate, I collate, and I try to create or co-create some sort of meaningful framework that's going to work predominantly in Africa, because a lot of these best practices we know, Melanie, are global, but we have to think global, but also act local. So I got it down to 3 phases, and this is a process map that I'm going to suggest. Some experts say there's 4 phases, but I basically combined the foundation, Megan, that you spoke about, the initiation, the planning, the scoping, the scheduling, etc. I've essentially combined that. And then, of course, phase 2, that's where you actually go out and do the assessment. You conduct the HR audit, and that's where your HR checklist in particular is very significant. And then, like they say in the classics, no job is done until the paperwork is complete. So you then need to compile your HR audit report. You need to submit that, Leah, to your various HR governance structures, your risk committee, maybe your audit committees, etc. And then, of course, you might even have to visually present the findings of your HR audit report. And then, of course, if those governance structures do have bite, if they do have authority, hopefully they're not a toothless wonder. If they do have bite, we can then enforce those recommendations. We can enforce those audit queries, and we can hold managers responsible and also accountable for all of the, the non-compliance areas, the non-risk related areas where we haven't really mitigated those risks, but also in year 3 in terms of holding HR accountable for the value proposition.
So at this point, I'd like to summarize episode 7. Up until this point, we've looked at the purpose, looking at the VCR acronym for HR auditing. We also looked at the 8 critical success factors for effective HRM auditing. And then we also concluded by looking at the 3 phases of the HRM auditing process. So I'd like to conclude episode 7 by looking at the business case for HR auditing, the key benefits of conducting an HR audit. And again, to make it more memorable, I've applied what I call the 5 C's. So we did say compliance, This could also give the organization a competitive advantage. There are certainly financial, there's cash benefits, there's credibility benefits. We spoke about the credibility formula in particular with HR auditing. Credibility equals validity plus reliability. So validity, speaking to the toolkit that we use, are we measuring what we should be measuring? But also the process speaks to the reliability. So if somebody else has to replicate the HR auditing process, will they come to the same or similar HR audit intelligence and findings, etc.? And then, of course, the fifth and final benefit is, of course, competency, because this helps to showcase that HR is indeed a valued business partner, and we are fueled by a high degree of competence. We did talk earlier on in the series about the high performance organizational culture. So creating a culture of hyper, but also creating a culture of meritocracy and guarding against mediocrity. And of course, if we can capitalize on all five of these key benefits, the collective would, of course, then lead to a clean, unqualified HR audit. So this is Dr. Charles Cotter signing out. Again, I'd like to say thank you to every single one of you for your support in viewing this HRM Strategic Performance Advisor video series. I look forward to continued engagement with you over the next couple of weeks. I will be uploading significantly more content, in particular the next series, which will look at credible communication, and also followed by people and talent management skills. That'll be the fourth series that I would have published over the last month. So I look forward to that, and also encourage you at this point to please subscribe to my YouTube learning channel. Also, if you like this particular video clip, which dealt with HR auditing, please click on the like button. And then also, please feel free to post any comments or questions in the comment section. And of course, to be alerted of any upcoming content, in particular the next series on credible communication, please ring the notify button so that you can get timeless notifications of that. I've also shared my social media footprint. So again, you will find me very active on social media, in particular LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course my portfolio of SlideShare presentations. You're welcome to access and download that on the SlideShare chat form. So this is Dr. Charles Cotter signing out. Again, thank you and best of luck on your journey towards actualizing to a strategic performance advisor. Thank you. Bye-bye.